Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 1, verse 167. Onwards we'll be reading today. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim. Yat kripatabham vande Shri Gurum Dhinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Caitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So Mahāprabhu has come to a village named Ramakeligram, which was the residence of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami. Taha nritya kare Prabhu preme achetana koti koti loka aise dekhite charana. While performing Sankirtan in Ramakeligram, the Lord danced and sometimes lost consciousness due to love of God. While at Ramakeligram, an unlimited number of people came to see his lotus feet. Verse 168. Gaudeshwara Yavana Raja Prabhav Shunina Kahite Lagila Kichu Vismita Hena. When the Muslim king of Bengal heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in attracting innumerable people, he became very much astonished and began to speak as follows. At that time, the Muslim king of Bengal was Nawab Hussain Shah Badsaha. Verse 169. Vina dane eta loka yanra pache haya seta gosana iha janiha nishchaya. Such a person who is followed by so many people without giving them charity must be prophet. I can surely understand this fact. Verse 170. Kaji yavana ihar na kariha himsana apana ichaya buluna yahan unhara mana. The Muslim king ordered the magistrate, do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy, let him do his own will wherever he likes. Purport: even a Muslim king could understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental position as a prophet. Therefore, he ordered the local magistrate not to disturb him but to let him do whatever he liked. Verse 171. Keshava Charitre Raja Varta Puchila Prabhura Mahima Chatri Udaiya Dila. When the Muslim king asked the king Keshav Chatri for news of the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Keshav Chatri, although knowing everything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tried to avoid the conversation by not giving any importance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Purport: Keshav Chatri became a diplomat when questioned about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he knew everything about him, he was afraid that the Muslim king might become his enemy. He gave no importance to the Lord's activities so that the Muslim king would take him to be an ordinary man and would not give him any trouble. Verse 172. Bhikhari sannyasi kare tirtha paryatan tanre dekhi bare aise dui chari jana. Keshav Chatri informed the Muslim king that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant touring different places of pilgrimage and that as such only a few people came to see him. Verse 173. Yavane tomar thani kare lagani tanra himsaya labh nahi hai ar hani. Keshav Chatri said, out of jealousy your Muslim servant plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him, for there is no profit in it. Rather, there is simply loss. Verse 174. Rajare prabodhi Keshav Brahmana Pathana Chalibar Tare Prabhure Pathaila Kahina. After pacifying the king in this way, Keshav Chatri sent a Brahman messenger to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting him to leave without delay. Verse 175. Dabira khasere raja puchila nibrite gosanira mahima tenho lagila kahite. In private, the king inquired from Dabira Khasa Sri Rupa Goswami, who began to speak about the glories of the Lord. Verse 176. ये तुम्हारे राज्य दिला ये तुम्हारा गोसाना Tomara deshe tomara bhagay janmila asina. Srila Rupa Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who gave you this kingdom and whom you accept as a prophet has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. Verse 177, Tomara mangala vanche कार्य सिद्धि हया इहार आशीर्वादे तुम्हार सर्वत्र ijaya. This prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere. Verse 178, Mure ke na pucha tumi pucha apna mana tumi naradhipa how Vishnu amsha sama. Why are you questioning me? Better that you question your own mind, because you are the king of the people. You are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you can understand this better than I. Verse 178, Tumar chitte chaitanyare kaiche haya jnana. Tumar chitte he laya saita pramana. Thus, Srila Rupa Goswami informed the king about his mind as a way of knowing Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. He assured the king that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence. Verse 180, Raja kahe shuna mora mane ye laya, sakshat Ishwar iha nahika samshaya. The king replied, I consider Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. Verse 181, Eta kahi Raja Gela Nija Abhayantare Tabe Dabira Khasa Aila Apnar Ghare. So Dabira Khasa is Srila Rupa Goswami here. Translation: After having this conversation with Rupa Goswami, the king entered his private house. Rupa Goswami, then known as Dabira Khasa, also returned to his residence. Purport: a monarch is certainly a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of all planetary systems. In each and every planet, there must be some king, governmental head or executive. Such a person is supposed to be the representative of Lord Vishnu on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He must see to the interests of all the people. Therefore, Lord Vishnu as Paramatma gives the king all intelligence to execute governmental affairs. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore asked the king what was in his mind concerning Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and indicated that whatever the king thought about him was correct. Verse 182, Ghare asi dui bhai yukati karina, Prabhu dekhi bare chale vesha lukana. After returning to his residence, the Dabira Khas and his brother decided after much consideration to go to see the Lord incognito. Verse 183, Ardharatre dui bhai aila Prabhu sthane prathame milila Nityananda Haridas sane. Thus in the dead of the night, the two brothers, the Dabira Khas and Sakara Mallika, which was Sanatan Goswami. So Rupa Goswami was called the Dabira Khas in the Muslim kingdom, and Sanatan Goswami was known as Sakara Malik. They went to see Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu incognito. First they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Verse 184, Tandra Dui Jana Janaila Prabhura Gochari Rupa Sakara Malika Aila Tuma Dekhibare. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that two personalities, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, had come to see him. Purport: Sakara Malika was the name of Sanatan Goswami, and Dabira Khas was the name of Rupa Goswami. They were recognized by these names in the service of the Muslim king, therefore these are Muslim names. As officials, the brothers adopted all kinds of Muslim customs. Verse 185, Dui gucha trina dunhe dashane dharina gale vastra bandhi pade dandavat hena. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth and each binding a cloth around their neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. Verse 186. Dainya rodana kare anande vihvala, Prabhu kahe utha utha haila mangala. Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. Verse 187. Uthi doi bhai tabe dante trinadhari, dainya kari stuti kare kariyuda kari. The two brothers got up and again, taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. Verse 188. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Maye Patit Pavan Jai Jai Mahashay. All glories to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful savior of the fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality. Verse 189. Neech jati neech sangi kari neech kaaj, tumar agrete Prabhu kahite vasi laj. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates and employment are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Purport. Although the two brothers Rupa and Sanatan at that time, the Bira Khas and Sakar Malika, presented themselves as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahman family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahman caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Neech Jati. The word Neech Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are three kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method, and the third birth is acceptance by the spiritual master, initiation. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by association with people who are naturally abominable. Rupa and Sanatan as the Veera caste and Sakar Malik associated with Muslims who were naturally opposed to Brahmanical culture and cow protection. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both the Veera caste and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahman caste. But because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lowest caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is stated clearly that because Sakara Malik and the Veera caste associated with lower class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmin families. So, moving on to next verse. Verse number 190. Mat tuliyo nasti papatma na paradhi cha kaschana parihare api lajja me kim brube purushottama. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we would immediately become ashamed, and what to speak of giving them up. Purport. This verse is from Bhakti Rasramrita Sindhu 1.2.154 by Srila Rupa Goswami, which we also know as Nectar of Devotion. Verse 191. Patita pavan hetu tomar avatar ama bai jagate patita nahi ar. The two brothers submitted, Dear Lord, you have incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. You should consider that in this world there is none so fallen as us. Verse number 192. Jagai madhai dui karile udharat tahan udharite shrama nahila tomar. You have delivered the two brothers Jagai and Madhai, but to deliver them you did not have to exert yourself very much. Verse 193. Brahmana jati tara navadvipe ghara Nicha seva nahi kare nahe nichera Kurupara. The brothers Jagai and Madhai belonged to the Brahman caste, and their residence was in the holy place of Navadvip. They never served two low-class persons, nor were they instruments to abominable activities. Verse 194. Sabe eka dosha tara haya papachara paparashi dahe nama bhasaye tomar. Nama bhasaye means simply by the dim reflection of chanting the holy name. Translation: Jagai and Madhai had but one fault: they were addicted to sinful activity. However, volumes of sinful activity can be burned to ashes simply by dim reflection of the chanting of your holy name. Purport: Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami presented themselves as being lower than the two brothers Jagai and Madhai, who were delivered by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. When Rupa and Sanatana compared themselves to Jagai and Madhai, they found themselves inferior because the Lord had no trouble in delivering two drunken brothers. This was so because despite the fact that they were addicted to sinful activity, in other ways their life was brilliant. They belonged to the Brahman castes of Navadvip, and such Brahmins were pious by nature. Although they had been addicted to some sinful activities due to bad association, those unwanted things could vanish simply because of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Another point for Jagai and Madhai was that as members of the Brahman family, they did not accept service under anyone. The Shastras strictly forbid a Brahman to accept service under anyone. The idea is that by accepting a master, one accepts the occupation of a dog. In other words, a dog cannot thrive without having a master, and for the sake of pleasing the master, dogs offend many people. They bark at innocent people just to please the master. Similarly, when one is a servant, he has to perform abominable activities according to the orders of the master. Therefore, when Dabira Khas and Sakar Malik compared the position to that of Jagai and Madhai, they found Jagai's and Madhai's position far better. Jagai and Madhai never accepted the position of serving a low-class person, nor were they forced to execute abominable activities under the order of a low-class master. Jagai and Madhai chanted the name of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu by way of blasphemy, but because they simply chanted his name, they immediately became free from the reactions of sinful activities. Thus later they were saved. Verse 195. Tomar naam lena tomar karila nindana, say naam haila tar muktira karana. Jagai and Madhai uttered your holy name by way of blaspheming you. Fortunately, that holy name became the cause of their utterance, of their deliverance. Verse 196. Jagai Madhai haite koti koti guna adhama patita papi ami dui jana. We too are millions and millions of times inferior to Jagai and Madhai. We are more degraded, fallen and sinful than they. Verse 197. Mlecha jati mlecha sevi kari mlecha karma go brahmana drohi sange amar sangama. Actually, we belong to the caste of meat eaters because we are servants of meat eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of the meat eaters. Because we always associate with such people, we are inimical towards the cows and Brahmins. There are two kinds of meat eaters, one who is born in a family of meat eaters and one who has learned to associate with meat eaters. From Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, formerly Dabira Khas and Sakar Malik, we can learn how one attains the character of a meat eater simply by associating with meat eaters. At the present moment in India, the presidential offices are occupied by so many so-called Brahmins, but the state maintains slaughterhouses for killing cows and makes propaganda against Vedic civilization. The first principle of Vedic civilization is the avoidance of meat eating and intoxication. Presently in India, intoxication and meat eating are encouraged, and the so-called learned Brahmins presiding over the state of affairs have certainly become degraded according to the standard given herein by Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. These so-called Brahmins give sanction to slaughterhouses for the sake of a fat salary, and they do not protest these abominable activities by deprecating the principles of Vedic civilization and supporting cow killing. They are immediately degraded to the platform of Mlechas and Yavanas. A Mlecha is a meat eater and a Yavana is one who has deviated from the Vedic culture. Unfortunately, such Mlechas and Yavanas are in executive power, how then can there be peace and prosperity in the state? The king or the president must be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Maharaj Yudhishthira accepted the rule of Bharatvarsha, formerly this entire planet, including all the seas and lands, he took sanction from authorities like Bhishma Dev and Lord Krishna. He thus ruled the entire world according to religious principles. At the present moment, however, heads of the state do not care for religious principles. If religious people vote on an issue, even though it be against the principles of the Shastras, the bills will be passed. The king, the presidents and heads of state become sinful by agreeing to such abominable activities. Sanatan and Rup Goswamis pleaded guilty to such activities. They therefore classified themselves among the Malechas, although they had been born in a Brahmin family. So we'll continue our reading from verse 198 next time. And I'll take this opportunity to wish everyone a very happy Advaitacharya Parents' Day, who is the incarnation of Mahavishnu and Sadashiv. And Advaitacharya Prabhu, he is the one who prayed so intensely that Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, which is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, in a devotee's mood actually, in his topmost devotee's mood, he came in Navadvip Dham, and that's why we're able to utter the Mahamantra, because it has been given to us now, freely available for everyone. So please chant and be happy. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.